Welcome petrol heads to an analysis of GT Sport on the PS4, all thanks to E3 2016. I have many of these upcoming, so please stay tuned. Now when it comes to technology and hardware pushing teams, Polyphony Digital are among the best in the business. When it comes to racing titles, then they have arguably the GOAT in that regard, with its long-running PlayStation champion, Gran Turismo. Now starting with the PS1, it has never had a console without at least one of its ultimate driving simulators within its library, and they are not about to make the PS4 console the odd one out. In typical fashion though, we've had to wait, and GT Sport is the first game from them on the original PS4, set to launch November 18th this year, a few days earlier in the US. Now leading up to that, it has improved over its reveal by a considerable amount, and its latest E3 demonstration is easily its best yet. Now thanks to them releasing direct feed footage at full rate, I am able to analyse the game much better, and this includes my bespoke performance application to see just how well it hits the 60Hz target refresh rate in action, the de rigueur for all racing games. Now before that, I just want to cover the game's visuals and physics along with its actual contents. 140 cars are included with the game, which covers both extreme racing machines to the more humble road going cars that should appease fans from every big manufacturer. Now these are grouped into classes as before, with Mercedes, Ferrari, Subaru, Audi and of course Mazda and Toyota among others across the range from concept cars to real ones. Now these can be raced across 19 tracks with multiple layouts ranging from the iconic Tokyo Express, Brands Hatch onto dirt tracks to feed the rally driver in us all, which with the game's great physics, control and tweaking options should deliver a complete driving experience. Now this is expanded with the game's online tournaments, allowing you to not only compete but also view with the Gran Turismo Sport Live Spectator mode, including commentary. Now taking photo mode to a whole new level, you can also use the escape mode to drop your car into exotic locales across the globe, creating your very own advertising shot, even with your own livery in the paint scheme editor. Which brings us nicely into the game's visuals, and yet again the attention and passion of motorsport is evident in the car models. Each car has been recreated from scratch for this new game and now consists of much higher density polygon count and improved topology, which includes individual interiors. The fabric of the seats, the stitching of the steering wheel, even the pop-up sat-nav screen is created with near CAD design levels, making each car feel unique and so accurate you can smell the leather. Or is that cheap air freshener? Now the outside is treated the same lavish care, if not more so, with each car being incredibly well constructed, right down to the metallic paint specular and Fresnel for each car. Headlights have separate levels of strength, and this is all best realised in the game's cracking replay option, or many other viewing modes of automobile pornography. For a game on such hardware with a 60 FPS target, it has not scripted completely on the lighting. Sadly no longer processed through the race, it can be chosen and stays as you admire the beauty and speed. Like the lacking of any dynamic weather though, this is to keep the frame rate high, as it reduces the calculations per frame. But low sunbeams across tracks, catching the car's bodywork, or bouncing and diffusing on the tarmac with a nice bloom. Varying times of day cover the less dramatic midday cycles also, and even within city areas the light tone gamma correction saturates your view as you emerge from dark tunnels. Cube maps bounce off cars and are well balanced across the tracks to convince and add extra features to each car in all the modes. Now the replays obviously ramp this up with what looks to be a screen space solution, adding a GI bounce onto the undercarriage of cars that is not present in the actual races. Now this is not only normal in all racing games, as the higher LOD cars are also used more often across the 20 on track here. You can at times notice the LOD switch from 0 to 1 in my preferred helmet view. Again, it's not uncommon. But also due to the split in target rates, that has some oddities I will get to shortly. Now handling and suspension looks to be another step up, that as before you can see each car raises, sags and rebounds as they hit broken and off camber sections of track, as you can see on screen. Now this can be seen throughout the races as you drive and in the replays, and should only be even more fun and realistic when we can go off-road in the game's track list. With the game's detailed customization features, this should be the most gratifying and most likely hardest GT yet, which should excite many. Now aside the performance that I will cover shortly, the game does still show a few signs of areas it still needs to improve on, AA being possibly its largest at present. Before I get to the visuals though, the sound is another weak area that does need some work. The tyre screeches are quite old school and repetitive, the engines are quite weak and don't sound loud when you're in groups of cars, and the reverb coming in and out of tunnels is nearly non-existent. leaving the overall audio package a little bit lacking, and it does cry out for much more post-processing, which I hope it will receive in the final game. There is much time yet to fix some of these areas, and if like me you prefer driving these games with a surround sound system or headset, it's certainly something you will pay attention to. But back to the visuals and that anti-aliasing solution, with it having a simple post-AA choice that in the high sample rate motion blur replays covers objects and camera movement, it is not that much of an issue, with the jagged edges of bodywork only noticeable at odd occasions. This is accompanied by a beautiful bokeh depth of field with a short and adjustable focal length worthy of a trackside photographer. This, with the motion blur, emphasises the speed and beauty on show as light glints off the car from the low sun, creating a striking look as bokeh shapes and bloom bounce over the cars racing past. But in play the game has no motion blur, and the AA now has a tougher job to cover up the shimmer from thin objects, bright areas and all the cars in your view. Not helping this is the game's relatively low LOD detail on trackside and filtering on road textures being low also, blurring some of the detail at very close distance, along with some minor occlusion issues on motion blur behind trackside fences, but this is something that most will not even notice. Dithering on shadows, fencing and many other objects in the scene, with in addition to the rear view mirror having the same issues and no AA, it can take the shine off the presentation at certain points. Now these are all obvious and intelligent cutbacks for the game, but I feel that increasing these or adding in a motion blur in races may help mask some of these issues in play, which could help what is, taken as a whole, a cracking looking game, and it still has a few months before its release. We may see these change along with its performance. The game in play targets 60Hz, and from this release video it achieves that, but not always by design and at a cost. It runs with VSync off, and this results in the game tearing quite regularly in action. This can hang around at points for longer periods, leaving the screen with a wobbly line running up and down. And this is an early show demo. I'm sure the game is going to ship with a fully VSync display or run an adaptive solution to deliver minor tears at the top section when just over budget. It is the best solution to keep the response time as high as possible in play, and is an area I hope the team are concentrating on for release. The much higher quality and impressive real-time replays do not suffer from this, with no tearing present at all, as they drop into a letterbox display. Accompanied by extra post effects, and dropping its target rate to 30Hz allows them to ramp up the visuals, reduce most of the dithering, improve the lighting and reflections, and in short, show us how much the frame rate costs here. But not completely, as it oddly at this point does not keep its 30Hz throughout replays, as in any in-car sections looking back raises it into 60Hz again, but it still remains tear free from my tests, which could mean that they are still working on trying to hit 60 here, or more likely they will change these portions of the engine code to also adopt the 30 cap. Any racing fan and GT lover is going to be looking forward to this latest release from a team that invented the driving simulator. With a decent choice already on the market, they have most likely the toughest job yet to regain the title. And aside some rougher areas and small performance concessions, the underlying game simulation and mind-boggling passion for the genre is clear again here after its latest E3 outing. I will cover more much closer to launch, and of course an in-depth analysis once it lands in November. As always, I hope you guys and girls enjoyed this, and if you did, or anything else that I've put together, then please feel free to subscribe and support this channel. Hit a like if you did, and a dislike if you didn't. Leave all your thoughts and feedback below, and please stay tuned for much more to come on both my website and the channel, with the E3 coverage incoming from all of the big hitters we've just seen. And I'm also going to be covering the hardware. You guys and girls take care, and I'll see you very soon on the next one.